Spring has sprung, and that means it is time for some springtime lawn care FAQ. So obviously for pretty much any lawn care company across the country, spring is a huge sales season because everything's blooming, the grass is starting to grow, and everybody wants to get something established before the spring gets too far underway and we get into summer with barbecues and picnics and everything else. With the increase in sales calls, and be sure to check out our sales call video that I did that just kind of walks you through the process on the picture perfect side of things, I get many more questions about exactly what should be going on this time of year, what I should be doing, what I should not be doing, and I wanted to put together about 5 of them for you guys that are just kind of samples. So if I address any questions in this video that make you think of a similar or related question that you want to ask and that you've been curious about or just want to see how we would answer, be sure to comment below. I want to know what questions you guys have. I want to know what you're seeing this spring. What are you up to? Be sure to comment so that I can hear from you. I really appreciate any comments that I get. They make my day. So let's get on with question number 1. Mowing's one of those things where it's kind of like a haircut in a lot of ways. I could get a haircut every 2 months and you wouldn't notice much change, but if somebody else waited for 2 months, then their hair would look super shaggy and rough and it just wouldn't be a good fit. It's the same thing with grass. Every kind of grass needs to be mowed on a different schedule, but even within the realm of fescue, your lawn might need to be cut a couple of weeks sooner or later than your neighbor. It just depends on the fertilizer, the health of the lawn, what's in the soil and the system, and when it starts to wake up. Generally though, as a rule of thumb, we normally see it being a good idea to start mowing around late March or early April. Our mow crews this year in 2019 are probably going to start mowing the first or second week of April and just kind of gradually ease into properties based on who is needing a cut the most. But that can change. Some years we've started as early as February. It really just depends on the weather and the soil temperatures. I do have for you, since I know that's not a super specific answer, 4 tips for really maximizing on your first cut of the spring to make sure that it is going to look picture perfect. Be sure to stay posted for future videos because we're going to get a lot more into mowing FAQs and those details later in the next few weeks. But here's just kind of some rules of thumb to start with. First, get your blades sharpened before you cut the grass for the first time. Lawns can be really damaged and stressed out by dull blades. It's not a good idea and it doesn't look good either. So be sure that your blades are nice and sharp for that first spring cut, A, so that it looks good, and B, so that your lawn that's coming out of dormancy doesn't get damaged right out of the gate. Second, try not to mow within 24 to 48 hours on either end of any spring treatments that you're doing with fertilizer and weed control. This largely depends on the products that you're putting down. Some are a greater threat than others, but because of that cut being fresh, it's kind of like if you pour anything onto a new cut on your skin, it's possibly going to sting. And kind of the same process can happen to your blades of grass if they're damaged, which mowing the grass damages the blades. So you just want to give it a little bit of a buffer to heal over and make sure that it's not going to pose any potential to do damage to your lawn. Third, mow high and don't bag your grass clippings unless there's a risk of it leaving clumps. If you bag your grass clippings, you're taking away a good potential nutrient source for your lawn, so you really want to be able to mulch up those clippings as much as possible and let them decompose and return to the soil system. It's a really nice way to enable that natural process. That being said, if you put off your first spring cut until the grass is really tall, like 6 inches, and even mowing it on the highest setting is going to leave a lot of chunks, you do want to bag it in that situation because those clumps can really smother out the grass, and that's the opposite of what you want. So use good judgment there. If it's really tall and you have to cut it, bag it just so you don't have those clumps left behind. Otherwise, try to mulch up the clippings, mow it over a couple of times so long as you don't rut up the lawn and go over the same pass over and over and over again. And that's probably going to end up being the best thing. And number 4, walk your property before you do that first spring cut. We get a lot of rain at this point in the year during the spring when that first mow needs to go on, and the last thing that you want to do is start off the season with big ruts in your yard that have to be seeded, and then we all know what spring seeding ends up doing in terms of the risk with pre-emergent weed control, summer heat coming on, everything else. So always police your property before you put a mower on it just to make sure that you're not going to sink into anything too wet or spongy. Watering schedules are very similar to mowing schedules in that it just kind of depends. You have to play it a little bit by ear and go with your gut in terms of what's going to actually be best for your lawn. The big thing with watering is that a lot of people fall for the trap of overwatering, which can be just as damaging as underwatering can be. So you really want to play it by ear. We generally don't see irrigation systems needing to be turned on until late April, early May. Could be longer, could be sooner, just kind of depends. And the big reason for that is that you do want to give your grass as much of a stretch as possible so that you can kind of almost train it to be a little bit more independent and a little bit more heat tolerant and get those roots a little bit deeper, get everything a little bit more hardy. The more that you baby your grass, the more sensitive it's going to be and the more dependent on that it's going to be. It's the same kind of principle that we see with fertilizer input and other factors like that. So try to go as long as you can. As soon as you feel it starting to turn dry, where it's almost that crispy texture, or seeing it start to lose a little bit of color, or the soil's just really compacted, monitor the weather. If we haven't had rain all week or for 2 weeks, that's going to be a good time to start. Just kind of go with that. If you ever have questions about it, if you're a picture perfect client, send me an email and just let me know, hey, I'm not sure if I need to start it, and I'll give you the best opinion I can with it. Be sure too to stay posted on our channel over the next couple of months. Like I mentioned with the mowing, I do have in the plans a really big irrigation video that at least is going to be one part, might break it up because you guys know I like to ramble. So I'm really excited to be able to show you guys exactly how to monitor your irrigation system, how to adjust sprinkler heads, how to see how much water is being put down per zone. Fescue likes what? 1.5 inches of water per week depending on the amount of rainfall. So be sure to stay in touch with that because I'm really excited about that video, probably around late April, early May. This is the question that makes me a little sad because I really hate it when I get somebody signed up for lawn care services and fertilizer and they're super excited and their lawn doesn't look great, but we know we can get it there. And they've just missed the last call for that first round of fertilizer and weed control. As you guys know from the video that we've done before on our first application, it has both pre and post-emergent weed control. This is one of 2 treatments that we do in the spring that has that pre-emergent weed control. So it's really important to get it down because it's literally half of your coverage for preventing crabgrass and broadleaf weeds from breaking through in the summer. If you miss it and you don't get it from another provider, you are going to see more weeds during the summer than you otherwise would have. This is especially an issue for lawns that are starting out kind of thin, maybe weren't maintained or weren't maintained well before they signed up with us. So we've already got a few humps to get over, and that's just going to be one of them. That being said, I always tell people to give us a calendar year because every application in the program is different and complements itself, so you want to get that whole year system to really see how the program impacts your lawn. But by this time next year, even having missed that first round of the treatments this year, you won't notice a difference because we'll get that weed control in with round 1 next season, and your spring seeding will fill in a lot of those holes that the weeds created during the summer. So it's not a detriment. You're not going to be crying by the end of summer over it. It is something that we'll overcome, and especially on the fertilizer side, yeah, it's good to get that first treatment down, but it'll perk back up with the treatments following since there are a lot of quick-acting products like nitrogen and stuff like that. But the big thing is going to be weeds because you're missing out on a significant portion of your weed control by missing out on round 1. You are going to see more of them. It's just something to bear through, and we'll get the soil healthy. That's the most important thing, and you'll have a great looking lawn very soon. So just like there are pre-emergent weed control products for your lawn, there are also pre-emergent products available for flower beds. Preen is the big one that a lot of people know by name because it's the popular option. Usually comes in granular form, it's easy to just kind of spread out across the flower bed. Biggest thing with any herbicides, and we've talked about this before with that DIY video that I did, which was a little controversial, is that you want to be very, very careful when applying these herbicides that you're following the label rates and application methods because you don't want to contaminate anything and you don't want to be exposed to anything that's going to be possibly harmful to you. So just be careful with that if you do it yourself, or just have a professional do it. We do pre-emergent bed prep treatments as part of our mulch services by request, so it is something that you definitely have access to. Now, with those pre-emergent flower bed products, you do want to keep in mind it's not a cure-all. You still are going to see some weeds coming through in the season following those treatments. The best way to reduce that amount of weed presence more and more is to be consistent with it and do it for several seasons to really kind of build up a presence of that pre-emergent weed control in the system. So it's not a fix. You're still going to see some weeds. It's still better than that stupid tarp that a lot of people put down that doesn't do anything for weeds that are coming into the system from the surface. It just prevents them from breaking through from underneath, but as soon as it gets torn or breaks down, it's not doing anything. So don't do the tarp. It doesn't look good and it barely works. But pre-emergent weed control, it does work. It's just not perfect. When it comes to flower bed weeds, I can preach this all day, and it's easier said than done, but stay on top of them. It's just like picking up the laundry off the floor or doing the dishes. If you do it, regularly, frequently, it's going to be a lot easier and only take you 5 minutes than if you let it build up for a month and all of a sudden you've got a whole afternoon that you have to spend on it at once. Please don't prune your flowering plants in spring. Don't do it unless you have something really special and unique that is okay for that to happen, because most of your flowering plants, your crepe myrtles, hydrangeas, roses, all of those are budding at this point. Those kinds of plants are going to be usually a winter pruning kind of thing. So we're talking January, at the latest February. By March and especially April, those things are ready to pop and give you the color and all of the good looks that you planted them there for in the first place. So you don't want to eliminate those buds by pruning. If you have to reduce them because of size, try to at least wait until summer when some of those buds are starting to fall and do their thing. It just kind of varies between plants. Especially if you have encores, summer's going to be okay. Again, it just kind of depends. But for the most part, as a rule of thumb, do that kind of pruning in the winter when the plant is completely dormant. It's better for it, and you're not going to lose out on all of that beautiful spring color that we're so looking forward to. So I hope I was able to answer a few questions for you guys. I always appreciate you watching these videos. Some of them are great, some of them are okay, some of them I could probably do better. So please give me your feedback and your advice, any kind of topics that you want to see coming up. What have I got coming up next? I'm going to be doing a what's next for April video pretty soon, so stay posted for that. Oh, we've got a huge announcement coming in terms of the direction that our mow crews are going in, so stay posted for that at the very beginning of April. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited. No one else in our area is doing this, and I swear it is about to take the industry by storm. So you want to stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be doing a 3-part series toward the end of April on how to prevent and control the things that are covered in our Plus package. So nutsedge, grubs, and fungus. We're going to be hitting on each of those. So that's going to be pretty great. And we've got some good stuff in between. So stay posted. Be sure to like and subscribe, ring the bell, do the whatevers that you have to do to be up to date. Follow us on Facebook if you haven't already, because I like to post memes on there. Who doesn't like a good meme? And I hope you guys have a picture perfect day.